Hey everyone, welcome to Mamas on a Mission. This is the channel for moms that are on a mission to create an extraordinary life, and I am Virginia Jimenez for those that I haven't had the pleasure of meeting just yet or connecting with on the virtual plane or in person. I am on a mission to help other parents as well as myself in having more exchanges with other people. So before I get into what I'm going to talk about today, which is all around the last day of school, it's the last day of school here in Miami, Florida for my son's school, and it's the end of the school year for many other parents with children out there. Before I go into that, I just wanted to do some housekeeping. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, be sure to do so. Subscribe by clicking the link below. Also, I have a Q&A segment that I love to do more of. And really it is just if you could share something that you're growing through, a challenge that you have, or some sort of questions that you would love answered, whether it be for your professional, in your professional setting at work, or something that's happened between you and somebody else, a relationship question. Feel free to drop it just by sending an email to me, connect with at virginiainspires.com, so we can address it on the next Q&A segment. I love those Q&As. It's an opportunity for me to learn what some of the pain points are and struggles for some other parents out there. It's also an opportunity to learn a bit more about, just do a bit more research. So it's not just what I have to say. I do like to see what other experts out there in the realm of psychology and raising children have to say, or raising children, whatever it is that we're asking a question on. So with that said, I am really excited. I mean, right now I just finished coming back maybe about an hour ago from my son's graduation, a ceremony that took place. Is his last day in 5th grade. He's going on to middle school. And I was thinking about just all the things that it took for this to happen. I want to take a moment to kind of like thank all the teachers that are out there, and all the ones that really make a difference and care so much about these children. And it takes a village to make this happen, to make it to the point where you finally go on to the next grade level. And I want to acknowledge that. And I also wanted to bring that up because one of the last things I spoke about this week, which I shared with you guys, was I did an interview with Denise Jacobs, and it's around her book, Banish Your Inner Critic. And there was something in that talk that we discussed which had to do with the fact that, in the making of her book, she needed to ask for help. She needed to be open to ask for help. And, when we come to the end of something, a success that's occurring, the success of these children that are going on to the next grade level, it's so important to highlight how many people it took to make it to this point. Not only myself, my ex, the father of my son, even the people that I'm close to, like family members that I consulted for help, or the teachers, especially the teachers that were with the children all day, for hours at a time, really working on helping them achieve their level of whatever success meant for them, for the child. I mean, my son yesterday was saying, I have to make sure that I thank my teachers because they reminded me of how, that I could make this happen, going, exceeding some of the expectations I had for myself. And I mean, this is my 5th grade son saying this. I'm like, oh my God, he sees that. I didn't have to say to him. So, I mean, it's just, it takes a village. It takes people. We do need to allow that into our lives. And I guess I'm bringing this up because I think that there's some moms out there, and I personally went through a moment where I wanted to do everything. I wanted to be like Superwoman. I was trying to do a lot of things at once. Several years ago when I was working in the corporate setting, it was very, it was like carrying the world on my shoulders, it felt like, and it felt like that's what I was supposed to be doing. And I think that, we these are examples. These children that are passing on to the next grade, it's an example of how it does take more than just one person to do it. It takes a multitude of people. And I wanted to bring this up because I think that it's important to talk about personally when we take this, this event that took place, and how these other people that are around in this village basically are contributing to the success of one individual. How being open to help, to guidance, is something that it's not just for students. It's not just for smaller kids. It's for ourselves as well as adults. when we're striving to do things in our professions, when we're striving to create things outside of our professions that's new. Let's say if you're an entrepreneur, if let's say you have a goal of becoming a speaker, you don't have to do it all by yourself. There are so many resources. We are not alone on this world, and I just think that it's something to reiterate. I think I'm have this need to reiterate it so much because I was one of these people that wanted to do everything myself, and to the point where I would not ask for help. And no more are those days. I'm definitely open to receiving it. I have my door open to it, and I think that you should too, because again, as we see with these children that are graduating from one class, going to one class to another, going off to middle school or whatever grade level that they're going into, this is a point where we reflect and we think back, hey, it took a village, it took it took patrons, it took other parents sometimes to help you, it took the teachers, it took your vice principals, your main principal, people that make the rules in the school. I mean, all these different things and layers to it, that it really does take a lot of people to make this one day for this one person happen. And it seems like just one person because I'm talking from my son, my point of view from my son, but it's several different students that are out there, and that's why mentorship is important, and that's why there's organizations that do help children see that they do have somebody else, some sort of guidance, of somebody that they can look up to, and those things are important, very, very important for that to exist in our world, in our country, in our communities. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of like have a moment to share that and remind people of, see, this is another example of why we need individuals in our lives. And I'm huge on, learning to have better relationships with other people. And we'll have more segments on that on this channel for sure, because that's it's a big thing. And I think that, that we are the ones that have the gate, the key to the gate, to allow those things to happen in our lives, to have more fulfilling relationships and things like that. We don't necessarily control what other people do, but we could control what we do and the boundaries that we create and things like that when it comes to relationships. And as I was watching these children also, I think that there's a lot more to go when it comes to learning and to developing these children. I think that, now I'm going off of my opinion, but I think that, if any of you feel like you agree or disagree, feel free to comment below. I would love to hear from you guys. But I feel like my children, especially, I've been talking to them a lot about how I want them to learn how to, the histories, things in history that are not necessarily taught in school, that really do impact the world that we live in. And not only that, but entrepreneurship, how important it is to, even if you don't become an entrepreneur, just the importance of understanding the economy and how it works, understanding the exchange of value. When you provide a service or a product and the exchange of value that takes place, understanding that and even going through the practice of it, even if they don't become entrepreneurs or people that do that full time, maybe on the side, it's fine. I think children need to understand the value of money and how it works and how money does need to flow through the economy. There was actually an article about millennials not how Applebee's and Buffalo Wild Wings are going out of business because millennials are shutting them down, basically, because they're not deciding to go eat out at restaurants anymore. I think times change and people's behaviors do change, and there might be other things that they're more interested in spending their money on. And I mean, they're kind of saying in some of the articles that they're just afraid to spend money, and I don't necessarily think that's true, because millennials, it's a broad range. There's like two different groups of millennials, one of which is about 25 to 34, the other one is less than 25, and so I think that those two, it's such a broad range that I don't believe they all psychologically spend money in similar ways. I think that after 30s it might be a little bit different than early 20s. I mean, and I think that's based on experience and what they decide they want to do in life, and they want to own property, let's say, or move out of their parents' house and things like that. I just think that things evolve, and sometimes people get scared, like, oh my God, why aren't they eating at Applebee's and Buffalo Wild Wings? Well, maybe that's not what they want anymore. There's other options that have come up. There's so many other things that they'd rather spend their money on, let's say. But anyways, that's just an example. Like, our children, I don't necessarily think that I was taught, like, the about the economy until I went to college, and I think that that's something should be taught in high school, like how money works, how money flows in the economy, how important it is for people to spend and to put money in certain things because that or to invest. I think that's a very important thing. Teaching our kids how to invest eventually. I already was investing as when I first started working at 15. I already had a CD in my name. So, these are things that they're not necessarily taught. I was taught this by my mom, thankfully. And kids should be taught things like that. They should. I believe that, at least. That's my opinion. And you can believe whatever you want to believe. That's fine. But I think that in this day and age, because it's such a big deal that they are a contributor to the economy, it's important for them to already know about it in high school. And I'm sure there's probably some teachers that do teach this. I haven't checked the Miami-Dade curriculum for that specifically. I've checked for other things, but I think that we as parents need to take responsibility if the school system isn't teaching them some of these things, that we need to be the ones that say, you know what, let me take some time off, or not time off, but let me put some time on my calendar to sit down and have a conversation. That's like 10 minutes, let's have a 10-minute conversation around the economy, and let's look through current events and share it with our children, because as they get older, these are the things that do impact them. We're taught all sorts of things at school. We're taught algebra, geometry, maybe even world history. Is very small amount of like geography that's necessarily taught. I remember being taught that in middle school, but high school I don't remember that much. And anyways, the point is that we as parents need to kind of assess what is it that we would like, where we would like our children to grow in life, and just teach them things, even if they don't take on to it. Just teach them the things that we think are more valuable for them. And I think that when it comes to economy, like, that is a huge deal. That's why we send children off to college, like to get a degree so they can make money, right? So they can sustain a family one day if they decide to do that. And they can do other things like travel and whatnot. So yeah, let's have those conversations with our children. Let's talk. Let's start off when they're young. Like, here's a bank account. Hey, let's look at what investments look like. Let's start with an account like Stash, which, by the way, I'll put that in the comments below if you're interested in even looking into that. That's an application where you can easily diversify the money that you have, like invest money into diversified portfolios. It is, I believe, yeah, it's definitely FDIC or SEC has gone through it. It's a legit company that just created this app that's called Stash. And some of the portfolios have, like, there's one called Blue Chip, so it has companies that are, large companies such as Facebook, Apple, Walmart, and just you own a portion of a stock, and it's a great way to just get more than 1% of return back. I mean, I think mine right now is at, last week I was earning 4% on it. This week it's about 2 point something percent on all combined portfolios. So even something like that is a great way for you to kind of start a conversation about investing with your child, and that's a way of you also teaching them to put some money into the economy. You're making investments on businesses that they purchase from, let's say, or businesses that make an impact, or not necessarily make an impact, but just that are, that we're using the money, or we're growing our money. And it might be a good way to just teach them to have more of an intrinsic motivation around doing something with their money that's not just buying Pokemon cards, let's say. Anyways, so that is that. I know we started off with talking about the end of the school year, which is awesome. I'm so glad these children are moving on, and I think that it's important. And with all that I've said, just to recap, it's pretty much that, it does take a village. It does take a combination of several different people to make things happen in our lives, and specifically with these kids, this is true because you see that the teachers have had a large involvement in making sure that these kids go on to the next school grade level, and have learned throughout the school year. And it's taken the parents as well to be part of that process, and it's taken possibly people that are in the parents' lives to help with that process as well. And then also, the education doesn't stop with just the education that they receive in school. Education continues on with us. And then I think now, like, my son is going to middle school, I think this is the perfect time for me to start teaching him about money, about the economy, about things that truly, like, that's later on when he gets out of high school. It's still going to be super important all the stuff he's learning now might be great. It's a great practice to become more disciplined and things like that. And there might be things that he does take away with him to the real world when he graduates high school. But we as parents need to take responsibility for teaching some of the things that are not taught in schools, that are, let's say, history, items that are in history that are not taught, and financial literacy. So again, I'll put more information in the show notes later on. Thank you so much for joining me today and hearing all that I have to say about my, being excited about my son going on to the next grade level, going to 6th grade, going to middle school. I look forward to connecting with you in the next one. Be sure to check out Mindful Monday Moments. Every Monday I do a small segment on breathing and visualization exercise and in some inspirational talk as well. So check that out for the next one. Remember that your circumstances in life don't define you. What defines you are your actions, decisions, and your attitude around it. So go out there and kill it. Do awesome things. Until next time. Bye.